In the quiet, unsuspecting towns of North Carolina, a killer was on the loose, a man whose youthful appearance hid a darkness so profound it sent tremors through every community he touched. To the outside world, Lesley Eugene Warren, with his smooth, innocent face, appeared to be an ordinary young man. Charming, soft-spoken, and almost boyish, he could have passed as someone's son or brother, someone you'd invite into your home without a second thought. But behind that baby face was a cold-blooded murderer, whose brutality and cunning grew more terrifying with each passing year. For years no one suspected a thing. His charm was his weapon. But as the bodies began to pile up, the truth would finally emerge. A man who, when stripped of his mask, was revealed to be a monster hiding in plain sight. This is the story of Lesley Eugene Warren. Lesley Eugene Warren was born in 1980 in High Point, North Carolina, to a family that was anything but ordinary. His father, a volatile alcoholic, was prone to fits of rage, while his mother, though loving, was overwhelmed by the chaos and eventual divorce that disrupted Lesley's early years. Raised between two homes, his mother's and his grandparents', Lesley's childhood was marked by emotional neglect, inconsistent discipline, and a lack of emotional warmth. His father's drunkenness and his mother's emotional unavailability created a fertile ground for Lesley's sense of abandonment. His father's absence from his life, especially during pivotal moments, fostered resentment that would simmer beneath the surface throughout his youth. With little attention paid to his emotional or psychological needs, Warren turned inward, becoming increasingly withdrawn and manipulative. Despite this, Lesley was a highly intelligent young man, capable of using his boyish charm to disarm those around him. His baby face made it difficult for people to take him seriously. He was always seen as just another quiet, polite boy. No one suspected that this gentle exterior concealed a mind capable of great darkness. As a teenager, his criminal tendencies began to surface, though they started small. Petty theft, vandalism, and fights at school marked his early run-ins with the law. But it wasn't just the small-time crimes that defined Warren's adolescent years. There were moments where he displayed frightening tendencies, an unusual obsession with power, control, and a tendency to manipulate those around him. It was these traits that foreshadowed the bloodshed to come. It was in 2003 when Lesley Warren's life of crime took a darker, irreversible turn. His first confirmed victim, Jamie Denise Hurley, a college student in High Point, North Carolina, was an innocent woman who, like many before her, was drawn to Warren's charm. She had known him for a short time through mutual friends and had no reason to suspect that the seemingly harmless young man could be capable of anything sinister. On a fateful day, Warren invited Jamie to meet him at a secluded spot on the outskirts of town. She trusted him, believing he was a friend. But once she was alone with him, the man she thought she knew turned into a killer. Warren strangled Jamie, his rage bubbling to the surface in a calculated and brutal attack. He left her body in a remote area, confident that it would take weeks for anyone to find her. The authorities initially had no leads. With no witnesses and no physical evidence, the case quickly turned cold. No one could have imagined that the seemingly sweet, quiet young man they had seen around town was responsible for such an atrocity, and no one would know for sure for several years. But Warren wasn't finished. His first murder, though shocking, was only the beginning. Over the next few years, he would continue his killing spree, each crime more violent and methodical than the last. His second victim, Katherine Johnson, was a colleague whom he had met through work. Katherine was initially attracted to Warren's outward charm, but like his previous victim, she would soon fall prey to his manipulative tactics. Once again, Warren used his charm to lure Katherine into a vulnerable situation. He invited her to meet up under the guise of a friendly encounter, and once she was isolated, he attacked. He strangled her, just as he had with Jamie, and disposed of her body in a remote location, ensuring that it wouldn't be discovered for days. It wasn't just the murders themselves that were chilling, but the way Warren disposed of the bodies. He was methodical, hiding the remains in hard-to-find locations, ensuring that the investigation would hit dead ends. It became clear that this was no random killer. This was someone who knew exactly what he was doing. Each new murder followed a disturbingly familiar pattern. Warren targeted women who were isolated, vulnerable, and trusting. He would charm them, gain their confidence, and once they were alone, he would strike with brutal force. His baby face enabled him to blend into his surroundings, making it almost impossible for anyone to suspect him. In 2007, after years of terrorizing North Carolina, a break in the case came from an unexpected source, a survivor. A woman, who had been targeted by Warren but managed to escape, came forward with a shocking account. She had met Warren under the pretense of a casual rendezvous, and like the others, had been lured into a secluded area. But this time, something was different. As Warren attempted to overpower her, the woman fought back desperately and managed to break free. Her courage in coming forward was instrumental in the investigation. She provided authorities with a detailed description of Warren, which matched the profiles of the victims. This was the breakthrough they had been waiting for. For years Warren had remained a ghost, a killer who slipped through their fingers at every turn. Now, they had a name and a face. With the survivor's testimony and DNA evidence linking him to several of the crime scenes, the authorities moved swiftly to arrest Warren. He was taken into custody in 2008 after years of eluding the law. The arrest shocked the community. Many people who had known Warren could not fathom that he was capable of such brutality. To them, he was always the quiet boy next door, the friendly face who seemed so harmless. The investigation revealed that Warren had been living a double life for years. The man who had once been seen as a sweet, polite young man was revealed to be a serial killer, responsible for the deaths of multiple women. Warren's trial was nothing short of a spectacle. The courtroom was packed with spectators, many of whom had known him personally. How could a man with such an innocent appearance commit such heinous crimes? The prosecution painted a chilling portrait of Warren as a cold-blooded killer who had carefully planned each murder. The defense, on the other hand, attempted to argue that his troubled upbringing had contributed to his actions, but it was clear to the jury that Warren's capacity for violence was not simply the result of his past, it was the result of his own choices. In the end, Warren was convicted of multiple murders and sentenced to death. The families of his victims finally had some closure, but the wounds would never fully heal. Let me know what you think of this case and which you would like to see next. Till next time.